Welcome to Haxby Shed. When I first started this series I thought we might do 2 or 3, and here we are, Odd Jobs and Stickers 14. Now today I've got 4 odd jobs to show you and then 2 stickers. One channel from Scotland and another from Canada. So we'll look at the odd jobs first and then we'll come back and we'll look at the stickers and a little bit of video from each of those channels, and then we'll get the stickers on the door. Here's a little milling machine improvement job. This is the end cover for my table gearbox, and you might have seen in an earlier episode one of my table gears tried to exit through the side of here. Now that's not the first time that had happened, because I can see that this is cracked and the crack's dirty, so I know I didn't do that. Now I've pressed this flat on the press, but when I release the pressure it just springs back up again. You can see what it's like, look. But I've decided it's just not worth any more work. Yes, I could gouge it out, I could weld it, I could fly cut it. It's just, you know, there's no point doing it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to improve the knurling on these. Now hopefully I won't wind this off when I'm trying to do it. These are captive in here by means of this being threaded. Fingers crossed. Oh, it does seem to be working. Success. That'll do nicely. Well, it's back to odd jobs again. I've just replaced a couple of LED light fittings, not in here. They don't last long. I think I'm on the 3rd of one of them and the 2nd of the other. Sort of garden lights, that sort of thing. Anyway, since Tom had his fire, Tom at Hilltop Machine Works, I've been thinking about automatic fire extinguishers. I don't know if you saw what happened to him. He was working on a car in his workshop. There was a petrol leak. The vapour expanded across the floor. He'd got an open kerosene heater or something. Set the whole thing off. Started to burn his clothes. He had to drop and roll. Well, he had to run out first. And you know, there wasn't time to grab a fire extinguisher, and luckily he'd got automatic extinguishers which went off, and it's made us all think about our workshops and the fire risk. So I bought 4 automatic fire extinguishers. So I'm going to put one of them in here. I've got other places to put the others really, and I'm trying to think, well, where to put it. I've tried to look up how high does it have to be. Couldn't find anything for automatic extinguishers. The only thing it says on it is vertical or slanting, but not more than horizontal. And you know, if I put it on one of these walls, it's got a coverage of about 2 cubic meters, it says. It's a 2 kilogram extinguisher. Well, if you put it on a wall, would it reach the other wall? Oh, I don't know, do I? Where does the fire going to start, right? But bottom line is, I've decided to put it up on a beam up here. Now, if I put it on the beam, am I going to hit it? Cover myself in, you know, powder someday? I'll just have to think about that, but that's where it's going. So here we go. Right then, here's the logic. Middle of the room gives me good coverage. I don't want this bit lower than this because I could hit it. I don't want it too high because the beam would block it. So I'm aiming to get this spinner, well, although it doesn't actually spin, this diffuser in that gap sort of there. Not here, because this would kind of block it. So you get the idea. Something like that, I think. Okay. This beam's only softwood. It's just so dry, that's all. Anyway, get some more weight on it this way and put some oil on the screws. And that went right in. That's better. There's a clip here. It's not a very strong one, but it does its job. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Tom. I wouldn't have done it without your video. I'm sorry you had to have the fire to prove the value of these things. Right, here's a bit of opportunist video. We could call it an odd job. My son's got a Volkswagen Passat B7 and there's a problem with the radiator fans. So there's two fans. One's just the cooling fan and the other one is for the air conditioning. And it looked like somebody had changed them before, but they weren't working. The air conditioning was fine, but once it overheated, the fans didn't come on and then the air conditioning would cut out. So this evening we're just trying to figure out what's going on. Now we've done the obvious, which is this is the old radiator pack here, fan pack I should say, and we can see that one of those fans is new already and it's got a new controller here, look. And so even so, you know, we put on a new fan pack, nothing happened. Getting a bit fed up with it. There's 4 connections on that fan pack. 2 of them are permanent power and 2 of them come from the control module, and it's based on pulse width modulation. So when we checked it through, we found that on the thick connector, thick spades there, we didn't have permanent power. But when we checked the other end of the lead, here in the fuse box, I'll just swing round to the fuse box, well, it was live there. So it's only a fairly short wire that comes from here and goes down to the fan connector. So it looked like there was a problem with the wire, and we found it. And I'm going to try and shoot this. Just a second, give me a chance to find it. Hold on. There we are. So we're looking underneath that fuse box, and the wires all come down and they come together at a point through a grommet or something, and that green that you can see is actually where the wire sleeving had got worn away or something, and then all the copper has corroded into a kind of green ball. So that's the fault. I think I've watched enough of Watch Wes work trying to find these faults, so kind of thank you for that really. Look at it there. In fact, a big green piece has dropped out of it. There it is. That's a bit of the copper that's all just corroded into a ball. So we found it. So we'll put the old fans back on because we don't need to replace them. Jolly good. Lucky find. Here's an odd job that we need to do fairly regularly, and that is measure the concentration of coolant on our machines. So to do that I use this, a refractometer. So the coolant that I use is this semi-synthetic here. I'll try and show you what that is. Now if you've used normal soluble oil and then you use this stuff, this makes a huge difference. It's quite expensive. That was about £32 from eBay. But it's a lot better than normal soluble oil. The only problem with it is I painted my lathe with floor paint, so it was oil resistant floor paint, and with normal soluble oil it's been absolutely fine. I didn't use lathe enamel, I was a bit lazy. Now with this stuff, if I leave the coolant standing in the tray, it will start to soften the paint. It doesn't worry the surfaces where the coolant doesn't stand, but actually when I dry it all off, the paint settles back again. One day I'll have to scrape off the tray and probably use some proper enamel paint, but I'm not that worried about it. Now these things, you can get many that look the same, but the scale is different. So the concentration of the coolant is only going to be about 6 to 10%. So you need a scale on one of these that matches that. Now you can buy these refractometers to measure the concentration of many fluids, fruit juice even, and they might go up to 50 or 60%, whereas this only goes up to 15%. It was a bit hard to find one. I only found one available on eBay, and it was a little bit more expensive, so we're saying about £17, something like that. So add 25% if you want that in dollars or euros. But I couldn't find any other way to measure the coolant. Now what I find is, in warm weather like it is today, the coolant, water in the coolant soon evaporates off and it loses quite a lot of height out of the tank. And I've been using the coolant a fair bit recently, so we're just going to put some on this slide here. I'll see if this focuses. You just put it on there and it's just a smear, nothing else. And then you look through this with this bit towards the light, towards the sun, as we're going to do in a second, and I'll do my best to video with the camera on the end here. Now the camera's not made for this, your eye is made for this, so you'll just see a kind of circle in the middle of the screen. Ooh, left to right, there we go, like that. But it should be enough to get an idea of how these work, and they're very, very good. Okay, so let's give it a go. This is very difficult to show you with the camera. Your eye can see more than this, but you can see the scale there with the percentages on. That's 10%, look. And that's 5%, and there's the baseline. So that's showing you the percent concentration. This is impossible with a camera, but you get the idea, yeah? So when we put the fluid onto the slide plate, and I don't know why the 15s are different on the left and right scale, there will be a reason. I just don't know what it is right now. I'll have to look up in the manual, won't I? But you put the oil solution onto the slide plate and it will take a reading. Now at the moment that's fresh air, so there's no reading. I'll just let this circulate for a minute or two. This is just going straight down into the sump. Now you only need a dribble, so we don't want to put that under there. All you need to do is something like that, and then you just close this and it squidges it, and you get that sort of dark circle there. That's all you need to do, and then you just look through. Well, of course this is almost impossible to show you, but there, see the line, see the change in colour, and that's only about 3.5%, so that doesn't have enough of the coolant in it. Now I did put loads and loads of water into this because it was really low in the tank, and that's probably the reason for that. Okay, so I've got the lathe up to 7% concentration, bit of trial and error. Now we'll do the same with the mill. Turn it on, let it circulate for a while. Oh, turn the power on at the switch as well, even. Have a bit more power. Bit messy, never mind. That's better. The first rule of coolant is you always get some all over the floor. Right, we'll take a sample now. Same process, just a little. Flip this over, go to the sun. So that's about 4%. I won't show you, but it is. So same process. Add some concentrate. I'll check the fluid level as well in the tank, which is down here underneath. A bit difficult to get to. So the tank's in here. The whole of this base could be full of fluid, but I don't do that. I have just like a big plant tray in there, so I've only got the coolant kind of on this part here and then across the width. That's enough for what I need. So we'll add the concentrate to that, check the levels, and that odd job will be done. Hope that was useful to somebody. Well, I hope you enjoyed the odd jobs. It's just the sort of jobs that go on in the background all the time. Anyway, let's have a look at the first channel from Scotland, John's Workshop. Now John's a proper machinist, and in this video clip he's making a slitting saw arbor. Very relevant to me because actually not released yet, but will be soon, some work I'm doing on a long arbor, a 1-inch long arbor for my mill. So I hope you enjoy this clip.
Hello guys, welcome back to John's Workshop, and in this video we're going to be making 2 slitting saw arbors. So I recently received some slitting saws, 2 different types and sizes and styles. So to key or not to key? That is the question. So all of these come with a keyway slot in. It's quite difficult to produce a keyway short enough, or a key short enough in an arbor to do this, you know, without bottoming out on the end cap, and that will become clear when we get into the manufacture. Okay, excuse the heater noise. We're having lots of snow again here and it's quite cold, so winter's back. So all I'm doing here is I'm putting in the dog slots into the holder. Now I don't have any dogs on my spindle yet, but I may do at a point in the future, so while we're making this I'm just going to put those in, and then they're there ready for if I ever put dogs in. I've done the bottom one already. Quick and easy way to set this up if you're doing something like this and you've got a flat enough surface big enough to get some slips, gauge blocks in. Basically I've used those gauge blocks underneath to locate in the slot that I've already put in, so that I know I've got it parallel, so that when I put the one at 180 degrees in, I know they're lined up. So I'll show you a bit of that as we machine the second slot. Very happy with that. That's got me a nice ISO 30 arbor for slitting saws with a good length on it. That will take both sizes. So with all that being said, we'll go back to the board and we'll close this episode out.
Now the second channel up is run by Mike, Grampy's Workshop. He sent me this sticker plus this long one here, and I'm going to use this one on the door because this is his channel icon. Now he's not a machinist, but you see him working in his workshop repairing things for his home and around his property. I said it was in Canada. Actually it's Nova Scotia. So Nova Scotia, New Scotland. So today we've had stickers from Scotland and New Scotland. A certain symmetry in that. Anyway, take a look at this bit of the video.
Hey, how's you going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampy's Workshop. I'm so glad you tuned in. Today I've got a quick little project, or I hope it's going to be quick. I need to take the rear wheels off a Nanny's tractor, and as usual when you try to take wheels off a lawn tractor like that, they seem to be froze onto the axle and they won't slide off. So I'm going to try and make a shop-made puller to get those wheels off. Let's see how I make them. So I want to take the back wheels off a Nanny's tractor, so I have her jacked up here. And if you look right here, this is the drive shaft, the axle, and it's keyed. So the hub of the wheel is keyed, and there's a little key put in there. And this wheel, it's on there pretty tight. It won't slide off, so I have to pull it off. So when I was working on my MTD tractor, I ended up with this problem too, trying to get the rear wheel pulled off. And I had a heck of a problem. But you see here, there's a couple of holes already drilled in the wheel. So I'm thinking if I can get some bolts, so I have some 3/8 bolts here, put through there with a nut on the back, then I could hook onto those, go against this axle, and pull that off. Trouble is, I don't have a proper puller for that, so I'm going to have to make one. Now we can buy pullers, that's for sure, but if you can make them, why not make them? So I'm going to try to make one. Okay, so that centers up on there. Oh, look at that, it's coming right off. Don't even need to put the wrench on it. Look at that. Alright, so that little wheel puller did the trick. Come off pretty easy actually. Maybe it wasn't as seized as I thought. But anyway, now we got a wheel puller.
Well, they look smart on there, don't they? Grampy's Workshop, John's Workshop. Now if you have a channel like mine and you'd like to see your sticker on my door, just email me at this address, and if you'd like one of my stickers, whether or not you've got a channel, just message me and I'll send them to you anywhere in the world as long as the post is going there. Thanks for watching.